I got introduced to what you're doing, the whole biohacking, and that just kind of just blew things up for me and just kind of made me more conscious and aware. There's a next level to health and wellness. So
here I am, this 9-year-old that was probably 250. I wasn't that big, but I was 200 pounds, I think. You know, I was a big kid. I was bowling ball.
You have put yourself to an elite class of athletes. I mean, talk to us about the journey of you going to the Olympics and all that.
Yeah, sure. Went to the Olympics and we made our points and everything else, and it was a pretty incredible experience.
It's Mauricio Mejia live on YouTube.
All right, we are back. It's Mauricio Mejia live. We are inside of Studio B in the heart of Silicon Valley, downtown San Jose. And today I get the honors and pleasure of bringing on a good friend, mentor, entrepreneur, former elite athlete. And we'll go into what sport he played. But I want to welcome my friend, Ara. What's happening, bud? How are you?
Doing well, Mauricio. Thanks for the good words there.
Oh, I try to keep it honest and authentic here. Thank you for taking the time. Today we've been talking about this for some time now. I think it's important that we do it sooner than later because I'm transforming, and I want people to see it. In the last 8 weeks, they're going to start seeing my content as it starts releasing. The transformation that I've been going through, and I've been sharing it.
Yes, you are.
Here on the show, I talk about doing the whole cold plunge, the red light, the sauna, taking peptides, taking supplements, the vitamins, and then really stacking up on the protein, on top of all the other things that I've been doing prior to taking this journey on with you, eating well, working out, just trying everything to maybe get some of the years back. From all the stuff that life.
We're turning back the clock, buddy. Yeah,
we're trying to, right? We're trying.
You're turning it back.
and it does feel like it. When I look at in the mirror, I look at myself and I'm like, man. I mean, when I came to you, which was probably now about 2 months ago, I came to you and I thought I was still in good shape. I had been. At one point when I started my journey, I was 230 pounds. I got down to 195. And then I started creeping back up about that 200. I think I plateaued 200, 205 area. And then I got introduced to what you're doing, the whole biohacking, and we're gonna tap into that. And that just kind of just blew things up for me and just kind of made me more conscious and aware of like, wow, really, there's a next level to health and wellness. So, but before we go into all of that, because I know we can spend hours. For the people that don't know, we'd like to start with a little background on you. Born and raised. Normally, it's kind of like just to give us a feel.
Sure.
So
yeah. So born in L.A.
Okay.
My dad is Armenian and immigrated from Syria. Nice. Mom was born L.A. She was born in L.A., and so she was local, and so they met. My dad was a movie theater, the drive-in movie theater manager. Okay. And so, I met my mom there. Yeah. And then they had me.
I'm from, I grew up in L.A., not from L.A., but I grew up in L.A., born, I tell people, born in San Francisco, raised in L.A., and now educated here in the Silicon Valley, but I love L.A.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm Armenian, so all the Glendale folks in the peaks over.
I wasn't going to say that because I don't want people to say, oh, that's kind of racist. No, I'm just saying.
It's not racist.
Glendale has a big community of Armenian and Persians, and, I'm just saying.
all the Armos drive the G-Wagon with blacked out windows.
Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Mercedes, all the high-end stuff over there.
Yeah, so Glendale. So he was working Glendale, and there was a drive-in theater over there. I met my mom. And then, and so the thing was, I when they first met, I don't think they realized, or my dad realized how young she was. So that relationship lasted for about a year. And then I ended up staying with my mom for the first 9 years. Yeah. So, stayed there. That was a little bit tough, had some issues there and kind of, it's a kid.
Yeah, you had a young mom.
Having a kid, man. Yeah. Kid having a kid.
My mom was young when she had me too. And it's interesting to see the outcome. Well, I've lived it, right? And to see kind of where we're at today. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. So. It's probably foundational for some of the things that are going on inside me. So, I had to, was moved around a little bit, to my aunt, to my grandparents.
Yeah.
back to an uncle, So formative years were a little bit rough, but also went to military school. That discipline,
We have so much in common.
yeah, some of the things, yeah. Apparently I was a bad kid, and
Yeah.
so I had to go to military school. But so that ended at 9, and I ended up moving up with my dad, and he was living in the Bay Area, so San Mateo.
Okay.
Yeah, so moved up. And then, so San Mateo is where I consider my hometown.
Got it.
How
old were you when you moved up to the
9.
9? Okay.
Yeah. So I went to elementary school there, a place called Park, and then I went to Hillsdale High School, which is close to Sarah over there.
Yeah.
Hung out with a bunch of the Sarah people. So, Tom Brady family was over at Sarah, and his sister actually went to Hillsdale.
I think did Barry Bonds go there too?
Barry Bonds went to Sarah,
Okay.
and Bobby did too, his brother.
Okay.
So we saw a lot of those guys, and it's so funny. You look back, and you're talking. It's greatest of all time. These guys. Just right here, San Mateo, Lynn Swan too. So you got Barry Bonds, you got Tom Brady. There was a guy Craig Jeffries played for the Mets, went to Sarah, and Lynn Swan. So there's some talent that came.
The Bay Area is just full of some great talent.
Oh,
man. I mean, you got some great universities here
Yeah.
and all that good stuff. So I could see where the things that have been produced, or the athletes that have been produced.
Studs. Yeah,
So kind of maybe it makes me wonder. Then is that what triggered your athleticism, right? That you were around all these athletes.
Well, yeah. So definitely, So when I got up here, number one, I had structure, and so I came up here. I was pretty heavy, and so my body type, is heavy build, and so my
Is
diet.
there such thing as a body type, right?
Because
Because
exomorph, mesomorph, all these.
you hear different stories, right?
Yeah.
You hear some people say, "Oh, that's just an excuse. Your body." No, there's different structures of
Oh,
bodies,
absolutely.
bone structures and all that, and
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay,
Well, so genetically, so my mom, when my dad met her, she was young, so she was smaller, but she, now she's, like 315 linebacker for the Giants, and she's got she's got a heavy build, but she's got the bone structure. So I inherited that, and then when I was growing up, I didn't have the best diet, macaroni and cheese every day. So I was really heavy, and so kind of what led me into athletics was that I'm 9, moved to San Mateo with my dad, and overweight, had some issues, psychological issues, and it was hard for me to get along with people. And what ended up happening is I got in with a group of guys, and I started playing basketball after school. This is a middle school, and all of a sudden, I'm starting to grow. So I get height, metabolism's kicking up, and then I'm active and I'm eating better because I have a stable family environment.
right.
And all that fat starts converting to muscle at a young age. So I ended up being pretty good at athletics, because here I am, this 9-year-old that was probably 250. I wasn't that big, but I was 200 pounds, I think. I was a big kid. I was bowling ball, and then I ended up just sprouting, and having that build that was underneath all the fat, and then just able to develop from there. So so in high school, I remember I was playing football. I think it was 240, which is a pretty solid guy. And I was pretty low in body fat, 220 to 240. So I'd range, when you start the season,
You're coming in hot.
Taking
out some fools.
Yeah. So, we had some big guys too on the team. Then I was also hanging out with a lot of Tongans. Those guys, the Samoans and the Tongans, the Islanders, they're just,
they're big boys, man.
They grow up early, man,
Yeah.
so, we're working out with those guys. And so you're pushing yourself to another level. But so San Mateo was a hometown. Dad's a great guy, had a stable environment there, really did wonders for me. And then
it's kind of interesting you said that, right? I mean, your dad, you were able to circle back and connect with your dad.
Yeah.
I did that at a later age myself too. And it's just interesting how, just the perspective.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Well,
and not too many people get to say that kind of stuff.
No, they don't. And, growing up, like now that I'm in my 50s, I'm 55, that you can go back and you can kind of see, I have my kids of my own, and kind of some of the journeys I've been on with them in the past, roads I've traveled. But my dad and I have a great relationship. But growing up, there was a lot of anger and resentment because he wasn't around, up until I was 9. So I carried that with me for a long time. But, if it wasn't for him, probably things would be much different right now.
Sometimes it's interesting when you said military school. I needed structure in my life as well, and I was yearning for that as a young kid because I felt that life was a little bit uncontrollable for me, and I would see other families and other kids in the neighborhoods that I was growing up in Highland Park, Pasadena, South Pasadena, Monrovia.
Right.
There was an instability there, right? My mom meant well, but she was out focused on, making sure that she had a roof over our heads, the basics, right, or the necessities, and food on the table, and that was the primary goal of that. And I've shared my story that my entrepreneurial spirit woke up at a very early age because of necessity, right? I was like, man, I'm looking at my life, I'm like, there's no way I have a bigger calling. So it's just interesting that upbringing triggers other things that
Well, we are the sum of our experiences, So yeah.
Second time I've heard that, I actually wrote that we are a sum of our thoughts. I think that's the quote.
Our thoughts and experiences, same thing. Yeah, we absolutely are. So taking that one step further, I was picked on as a kid and didn't have the social skills. So my way of overcoming that is I'm going to be better than you. Have that chip on your shoulder. Yeah. And then
that's some David Goggins shit right there. Right? That's what he talks about.
Well, seriously. And then, so, here I am, a 9-year-old that's fat and chubby, that's, doesn't have social skills and is kind of awkward. Yeah. Grow up to a kid that's like 6 feet, 240.
Now I can't get you to shut the fuck up. You just talk, bro.
Why don't you stop talking, man?
No, I love it.
But, you grow up and you're 6 feet, 240, with a chip on your shoulder because you want to be better than everyone else. Yeah. But that's the reason. So it's like, I want to excel and I want to exceed. So that's part of the driving forces in my life.
That's pretty badass. So you get into sports. What sports did you play in high school aside from football? Was that the only sport? Or?
Yeah, no, football.
When you're tall and you got the build, you can get recruited for football. I mean, for baseball. You can get basketball.
Played basketball.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I did track. Basketball I've never been that good at, football player trying to play basketball usually, it was just like,
got a lot of weight.
And I can move people around, but those guys, some of those guys, even at that age, they're gliding, and it was a different mentality. So, and then I played track. I did shot put. And so I made NorCals. So I made state, and doing shot put. So, and then our football team was really good. We made CCS, and then I had some what did I make? I made all county honors. So ended up, and I wasn't playing sports for that long. I started playing football when I was a sophomore, and I started throwing shot put when I was a sophomore. So there were kids that were playing, well in their middle school, even before that, Pee Wee. So I started a little bit late with sports, but was able to do pretty well and excel on that. Yeah.
During that time, were there any scouts that were scouting you, or to go to different universities? I mean, that era was big on that stuff.
There was, it was like Chico State, things like that. I ended up going to college at San Mateo. I played for a year there. Ended up breaking my leg, and then I just lost a lot of size. And then I transferred over to Sac State. Okay. I always had dreams of grandeur to play football at Sac State. Just didn't have the size. Those guys were too big and strong. And, once you break your leg and you atrophy and you've been out of it for a while, it's not there. So I played rugby. I went, so I went to
you went brutal, man. You definitely wanted to take out some frustration.
Yeah, so. I definitely needed to. And I played rugby.
That's a brutal sport, man.
Brutal sport. Yeah. Brutal. Got my ear ripped off.
Jesus. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man.
And so they had to sew it back. I have a scar on the bottom of my ear, ripped up, and
oh god, that's painful. So, I haven't had one of these on my show yet.
That stuff happened. So a bunch of the guys, they taught that, like, once that happened, everyone would tape their ears up. So you take electrical tape and you put some gauze, and people would you actually wrap your ears to your head so that your ears won't get ripped off in the sport that you play.
Jesus.
Yeah. So rugby. But you know that.
But didn't rugby? Didn't they wear like a version of a helmet or like a leather, like the old football
They
stuff?
don't.
No?
They don't let you put the ear guards on. You can tape your ears. That's about it. Yeah, yeah. You're.
Wow, talk about.
There's no.
We're trying to save our ears. No, all right.
We're trying to save our brains too.
Yeah.
That was a brutal sport. So we were playing against teams like Berkeley and Stanford. So a lot of the football guys, off season, what they would do is they go play rugby. It was club too, but you know, you're getting all these like stud athletes, and so that was a lot of fun and helped me continue to develop my physicality, I guess you would call it, and then also keep that. You know, when you're playing sports, your mental prowess, you're honed, you're sharp. You know, you got to be on top of your game. So, and I think that's something that I always loved, and it just kept me on point. You know, how can I excel? How can I exceed?
It's a discipline. It's a discipline that keeps us, gives us that moment of where we have to focus on the execution of whatever the task may be or the discipline, right? Whether it's martial arts, right? That's why there are a lot of people or people that like to do martial arts. There are also a lot of businessmen, you know, because they may not get into the rough sports or, you know, those, but they got to keep that mental activeness going.
Yeah, you definitely got to do it.
I'm an extreme junkie. I like to go jump on my Ducati and go 120 miles an hour, put the pedal, but because it gives you a sense of focus, right? You know that you got this machine between your legs and you got to be respectful to it, still be in somewhat control, but know that you're you know, and that kind of gives me that mental exercise. I do like other, you know, sports, or I like torturing myself. I like jumping in your cool.
Yeah. Well, you're an adrenaline and dopamine junkie too. So
I am guilty.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're good at that, and then guilty as am I too. So yeah, we're of the same breed. But yeah.
Talk to me about. I know that you have put yourself to an elite class of athletes. I mean, you did this in your college days, but talk to us about the journey of you going to the Olympics and all that.
Yeah, sure.
That was really that conversation when you mentioned that. I was like, I'm trying to picture this, and then the sport that you played, bobsledding. I mean, share that journey with us, man.
Yeah. So after college, got a job, and so my first job getting out of school was working in real estate. I was doing apartments. So there's a guy out of Portland, Robert Randall, CTL Management. These guys hired me, and I was in Pittsburgh. In the East
City of Pittsburgh or the state of the
city of Pittsburgh?
Okay.
Yeah, so
Whoa,
rough.
wow.
Yeah, managing
Right.
8 apartment buildings, Pittsburgh and Antioch.
Oh, damn.
For this guy. So they wanted a big guy.
You needed some social skills up there. Actually, more size than social.
Yeah, that's exactly. They wanted a big guy too, which I didn't realize. Like, you know, it's like because they were like, oh, it's
nothing
good.
against Pittsburgh or Antioch.
No,
It's not just,
but
hey.
like think about it. You're in that environment. You've got a 100-pound gal. You got a 240-pound guy that looks a little bit crazy. You know, with scars on his face or whatever. You know, you're gonna get perceived differently. You're gonna get approached differently.
100%.
And that area. You're just dealing with a different element. You know, it's you're going to see that everywhere, but you know, it's there. So anyway, I didn't really realize that, you know, they were hiring me was kind of a multifaceted approach to.
You were being profiled.
Yeah, I was totally being profiled. Yeah, but I did that for a while. Then while I was there, you know, I wanted to stay in shape. So you know, it's like shit. You know, you're like there, and the gym's big at the time. So I was working out pretty heavily and continuing to work on my body. Yeah. And then I was out playing basketball one day, and so I was explosive. That's the one thing that I always had. I was able to dunk. I'm 6 feet. I was able to dunk a basketball. So anyway, some guys approached me on that, and they were like, hey, you know, they knew that I was Armenian. And so I was approached by the Armenian National Olympic Committee. It was Armenia that I competed for. So
is that the team you played for?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So you know, but the U.S.
Yeah.
We actually trained with the U.S., so there was an agreement. So we would go to Salt Lake City, and we would spend quite a bit of time up there in the winter. So we would rotate in and out of their squads. So they'd have some people that would ride with us, we would ride with them, and we'd push for them. we were good enough to probably, do something for the U.S., maybe third team or something. I don't know. They were good. Their first and second team they were a level of athlete that was like, there's very few people in the world that are like some of these guys. But I was doing it for Armenia, and I still, to qualify, you have to do events around the world. You have to qualify by placing 10th or 12th, but it's called World Cup points. So the events that you participate in, it's called the World Cup. So, I got approached by these guys from Armenia, and they're like, hey, why don't you train with the U.S. team? We have an agreement with them. And then
how did they randomly just come up to you and just think?
Because I was 250 pounds and I dunked a basketball, and I'm Armenian. Like most Armenians are like 5'6" and hairy and and walking around with their knuckles on the ground.
He's saying it, I'm joking, but I'm agreeing.
I'm teasing, but
anyway,
you just don't see a lot of Armenians with
the height,
the type of profiling me again. So you're not going to see that. And so the other guys on the team were like me too. There was a guy that was actually throwing shot put for the U.S. This guy Olympian Bobsledder, so total stud. But anyways, we started going to events. So next thing I know, I'm in Salt Lake City. We're doing some training with the bobsledding. There we went up to Calgary. There's an actual bobsled school. So we're at Calgary Olympic Park. That was so much fun.
And you like this? I mean, you like the sport from the minute you.
You're going 100 miles an hour down an ice track.
Is it the single sled or the?
I did 2-man.
Okay.
And then there's 4-man also. So
damn.
We were trying to put together a 4-man team, but I did the 2-man. But so the beauty of the sport was like, I said, I'm going to do it. So they're like, put you on a training program and a regimen that, we want you to look like this and have this type of split time. Like you have a 10-meter split and a 50-meter split as far as how fast you are. A strength protocol or strength measurements. We're like doing cleans, and there are guys who are like cleaning 415, but Olympic lifts.
Yeah.
But you're just around all these studs, and it was like I'm back, doing my thing again, and it was at a high level.
Yeah.
You had guys like Herschel Walker and Carl Lewis that are rolling around. Then you're flying to these places. Like I was in Austria in a town called the Eagles, which is just outside of Innsbruck, and I'm bobsledding and then snowboarding the next day, because you can go, or we're in Koenigsee or La Plagne in France or Altenburg, in Lillehammer in Norway, so you're going to Cortina in Italy. So you're going to all these crazy places, which are just winter destinations. And you get to have people, take you into their homes. Like, because what they would do is if you're an athlete, you don't have a lot of money. And I was pretty successful at the time. I was running my first real estate business, but you're able to fly, you're able to go into people's homes and they'll put you up and they'll give you a room and they'll feed you. And they're so excited to have like a potential, you got a World Cup or a Europa Cup, which was the other league that we competed in.
Yeah.
You have a World Cup or Europa Cup athlete, and then potentially someone that's going to be in the Olympics. And so, people, they just got a lot of excitement for that. So we got to see people like the real people and not do the touristy stuff.
Right.
And then
you were in the
roots. So you're going to the right restaurants and doing everything. So that like you can see my smile. Like that was just, those were some of the best days of my life. And then we got a personal trainer. We had a guy that was working out with us. It was he was an NFL linebacker. So he used to play for the Niners, Detroit World Football League. This guy, Mark Byers, was training us, and I lived with him for a while.
I remember Mark.
Yeah, remember Mark?
Mark.
So,
what's up, Mark?
So Mark and I
Mark was a monster, bro.
Monster, yeah. So we trained together because, one of the things I had to get up to was like a 600-pound squat.
Yeah.
How many people can do that? Well, NFL guy that played, he was a top-notch athlete and everything else, and then became a trainer. So, so he worked with us on getting that. So we were... we really changed our body typing, and, to get there because obviously
now we call it biohacking.
Well, we had different things to use back then, but so that was the journey. Just And it was
And
just,
you got to compete at that highest level.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
actually, you went to the Olympics,
yeah,
right?
we went to the Olympics
Yeah.
and we made our points and
Yeah.
everything else. And it was just, yeah, it was a pretty incredible experience.
That to be around not just the elite in your sport, but the elites of all the sports, right? Because the Olympic is supposed to be the pinnacle of all sports.
yeah,
It's interesting to. I mean, they're normal human beings too, but when it comes to their sport, they're the elite of the elite.
Yeah. So
At least that's the way we're looking at it from the outside looking in, right?
So I'll tell you, here's a good analogy. So, I used to think of myself, I was around some pretty good D1 college players when I was at Sac State. Guys from Stanford, Berkeley would play against them when I was doing rugby, And, okay, these guys are good athletes. Yeah. It's like, probably there's a handful that, that really stood out in my mind, but nothing that I would be scared of saying, hey, I could at least there would be an approximation of competitiveness between us. When I went to the Olympics, there were guys that I was in a room with that we were doing drills, speed drills, strength drills. There's never, ever, ever going to be a chance that I would even remotely, approximately compete with them on the same arena. That's the level of caliber there were. There's guys like, you see a Herschel Walker, you see how he moves and how fast they are. There's just no amount of training is going to give me that God-given ability that you see with some of these guys. It is insane.
Yeah.
And never have I felt smaller. Yeah.
Wow.
It was perspective. You could never.
So you're a big boy in the room, and you feel like, when the next big boy walks in, he's
and those are they're the elite.
I can relate to that in business, in the business world.
Yeah.
You talked about commercial real estate. I've always had a passion and love for real estate, the real estate development side, and then the commercial side. And I can understand that feeling where, like, I think I'm a badass, but then when that other guy pops up that's a badass, you're like, all right, hey, I know my lane.
Yeah.
And eventually I will get to that next level. But it takes time, it takes discipline, it takes patience. Sometimes we just don't have that.
Yeah, sure.
And so it could become self-destructive. But I can understand that. I mean, even in sports, I remember when I played sports in high school, baseball, football, I was a backup quarterback, but I was an inside linebacker, and I was a starting running back because of my size.
Sure.
I have the size, and I was short, so I can get in through those holes. I ran track.
Yeah, you're the prototype running back. Even today, man.
I'll get in there.
Yeah.
I even played water polo. I love swimming. Water polo was definitely a fun sport. And I remember that I'm gonna get out of the streets of growing up in the LA neighborhoods. I was like, but I'm gonna have to find a way to get out of there. And so I try to play sports at the higher level. Man, and even in that you get to see other kids that are like, they're badass. I mean, I got to play with a lot of great kids in my age and in my era, and got to see where they went. But you got to definitely have a strong mind.
You do. So there's a lot of sprinters that were in bobsledding.
Yeah,
I consider sprinters the most. They are all around, hands down, in my belief.
No.
But if you look at the purest sense of athlete, these guys that have that much quick twitch muscle can move that fast, and they're fluid and graceful.
Yeah.
Like you could see them, they dance, they do ballet, they do yoga, and they're also, like, a lot of these guys are, a lot of these sprinters are 200 plus, 220, 210 running, because you got to carry the muscle, and you look at their physiques, they're like godlike bodies, but they are hands down. They're
interesting you say that, because those sprinters. I just watched on the weekend. I watched the Victor Conti show, and they showed the guys that were running, and those guys, they add muscle on them, and I was thinking, like, doesn't that give them weight and then that gives them that power, man?
Exactly.
And you see the muscles on these guys.
They're jacked, man. They are the epitome.
They're like the horses, like in the derbies.
Yeah,
when they're all jacked up, like you just.
Yeah,
it's like wow.
They are. You don't. We're not. Most people, you're just not privy to see something like that. But these people are. They're just competing at levels that are insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
What so what happens after the Olympics or during the Olympics, or what did the career end there, or what happened?
Yeah. So
it was just an experiance, and then that was it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
okay.
like I was single, and it's fun.
I'm sure that it was.
People, I'm going to tell you a story. So they always ask, like in the Olympics, they say, okay, with the Olympics, there's a people would say, yeah, you go to the Olympics and they'll have baskets around and there'll be just condoms there. So you got all these athletes in it, like stressed and strained and, been total devotion for their entire life. And, then it's done and it's like, what are you going to do? But yeah, they did. Like, I thought that was BS. I was like, they don't have baskets. They're like baskets everywhere.
Oh my God.
They were.
That's gotta be funny.
Yeah. So, and then, we did it when it was Salt Lake City.
Okay.
And so we're on the University of Utah grounds. So they would have I think the Black Eyed Peas we were just talking about, they were playing there. I forgot what her name was. Sarah. Fergie. Yeah. Fergie, well, but no, there was another singer that was our singer-songwriter. She was there. So, they would just have impromptu concerts. Mm-hmm. It was party. The thing that was funny though, is like the food, even back then, what they teach you is the biggest sponsor there was McDonald's. And we're going in the cafeteria and they're feeding us double cheeseburgers and just garbage and Coke. McDonald's everywhere. They were the number one sponsor. Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like
it's crazy.
Why? I mean, I understand the dollars.
Yeah.
The investment.
Yeah, it's all about money.
But McDonald's, I mean, that's hangover. That's like drinking food. After a night of a binge, you want to just put some junk in your stomach.
Yeah.
You go eat that, man.
Yeah. That's what they fed us. So yeah.
Wow,
that was crazy. So I digress. But so we were talking. So afterwards, so I had a career in real estate. So I was doing. I think I told you my first job out of school was doing apartment buildings.
Yeah.
So I had 8 apartment complexes. So I was what was called a regional asset manager. Mm-hmm. So I had a pretty good job, and I was running the property managers, the individual ones, and handling the leasing for the properties and legal issues and coordination and whatnot, and doing the reporting. So I just, after working in Pittsburgh and Antioch for a couple of years, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah. Were you living out in that area too?
Yeah, I was living out there.
Yeah.
And then my wife at the time, so I had a kid, very young, 25, and I competed when I was 32. So I had a kid at 25. My wife was pregnant at 24. She was going to law school in Sacramento at a school called McGeorge School of Law. So I was living in Antioch, managing these apartments, paying for an apartment for her up in Sacramento, and then I would drive up on the weekend on my days off and then come and take care of the kid. So anyways, that just didn't end up working. So I ended up moving to the Bay Area, moved back in with my parents for a while in San Mateo, because I was going through the divorce, and I got a job with a company called Lincoln Properties, which is one of the largest property management and developers in the world at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
And so they were in Foster City. Anyway, we ended up doing a bunch of deals when I worked with them, and I was working. So you have different types of space in the commercial sector. You have what's called industrial, which is like the warehouse buildings. You have flex R&D. That's kind of like industrial office, a mix between the two. They could do some assembly or manufacturing, but then they have offices. Then you had like Class A R&D, which would be like Amazon, but they have a shipping and receiving area. Then you have office, and then you have retail, and then you have multifamily. So I started off in industrial, then after a while moved over to the R&D. And so these are called higher and better use for properties when you look at it in commercial. Then ended up doing Class A R&D. Then eventually started doing office and retail, which at the time were what I thought were the highest and best use, highest levels of real estate. Worked with Lincoln for 3 years, and then ended up going to another company called Divco.
Yeah.
Well, I was with
I know them
Divco.
very well, yeah.
Stuart Schiff. So
Yeah, Divco West.
yeah, we were talking about the 800-pound gorillas in the room. Stu
Yeah.
was one of those guys that was a stud. He was a superstar.
Yeah.
I was sitting down. We were having dinner. There was a dinner function for the company one day, and I was talking to him. And one of the things that stuck with me, which really took all that mystique of these guys that are now they're sharks and they are 800-pound gorillas and they'll pound you. But what's interesting is if you got your stuff down right, the only difference between a $20 million deal and a $200 million deal and a $2 billion deal are a couple of zeros. And that's what Stuart told me, and that always stuck with me because really, as my career progressed and looking back in hindsight, the $20 million and $200 million deals are a lot easier to do than the $2 million deal.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Agreed.
Yeah,
100%.
you know what I'm saying?
One of my mentors taught me in being in the entertainment industry is the same amount of energy you put into this little small dive bar and you put into the big, the big nightclub or with the big capacity, it's the same amount of energy.
Yeah.
It's just you have a bigger risk, bigger reward versus the other one. And then it's a mindset too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I've seen that. I mean, that's why I stay away from the small deals. Not that I don't have the time or the energy. It's just that I'd rather go spend my energy on something bigger and be successful at that because the reward of that is a lot. And that's just the competitive. That becomes that's the competitiveness in us.
Yeah.
Right? That's who we want to be. We want to go slay the dragon. The bigger one. Not the little one. So.
Because Mom left us with our grandma when we were 3. It's that cry for attention. Yeah. Some of our experiences. Yeah. But and really that going back to that, that's really what let me excel in commercial real estate. So sports is hey look at me, hey look at me. Once you get on a pedestal, someone's going to come and knock you off, though. There's always something better. So commercial real estate was the same way as well. But the thing is when you get knocked off to that pedestal, you can go to another company because they want you. Because as you get higher and higher within the ranks of commercial real estate, there's more value that's associated to you because you're doing deals. And the companies that are hiring are looking for people like that. So they're looking for disgruntled people in other real estate brokerage firms or in other real estate firms. Because there's not a lot of us that are it's a very small world at that level. And I went from $20 million deals, $100 million deals, $500 million deals, and portfolios that I was managing because I also had the management expertise. Not a lot of people have both sides of the coin, so it allowed me to prosper.
I tell people with my experience in the commercial side is that I may not know the commercial lease side or the development side, but I do know the construction side. So, and if you have that element, you become dangerous because you understand the cost of building. Now, if I learn the other parts, I even become more dangerous.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting, so I was working for these companies doing management and the leasing for them and making a salary. Well, I was so successful at it. I was like, hey, I'm just going to go out and do this on my own. And I ended up finding a guy, his name was Kelly Heil. He had a small firm called Heil and Associates. We did a deal together and he got paid a shitload of money. And I was like, why am I working for the man? Why am I doing this? And when I could go and like with the networks that I have and the tenants that I know, someone's going to call me and say, hey, represent me to come do a deal. Like, there's not a ton of guys with this experience. So we talked and he said, come on board. And we actually, I had some clients that I knew and he knew, and we got some management accounts. So that was like, those things pay your electricity bills. And then if you can slam like a good size office deal or, manufacturing deal, whatever, 10, 20,000 feet, you're making a bunch of money. You're making $200,000. So I'm like 29 years old at the time, and I think I did one of those. And it's like, I'm training for the Olympics and I'm traveling all throughout the world. And, I just thought, I was the shit. So, so I was transitioning through different companies and then moving from doing property management and some leasing into higher and better types of uses of properties and doing that management and leasing and then really just doing leases on office properties and acting as an asset manager for Divco. I did Park Center Plaza down the street here. So that was 1 million square feet. So I handled that for Stewart and Divco. And then
they still have that asset.
No, they sold it. Okay. They sold it to
it was 333 Park.
Yeah,
right?
well, there's where Scott's was, and then the Heritage Bank building. And remember, what was the Rock State 98.5?
Oh wait,
that's Park Center. Park Center Plaza.
I was thinking of the other one where there was a restaurant on the ground floor.
No, you're thinking of something different. Yeah, and then the B of A building and Wells Fargo there.
That was
so that entire city block I was managing. So I was an asset manager for that.
Wow.
So they're
now they're tearing it up. Jay Paul's
doing that and making that big bet on more office. Yeah,
double down, baby. Double.
Not me, man. Thank God.
I got $1 billion just sitting there empty.
That's the thing. But so that's what I did. So after I did that, and I did a bunch of leasing for that center, and it was made them a lot of money. I was like, why don't I go do this on my own? I ended up going with this guy Kelly, this Island Associates, and I was 29 or 30, gearing up to try to make the Olympics, and going through divorce and all these other things. Best move I ever made, going out on my own. I just said, fuck it, I'm going, I'm doing this, and I think I was doing it for 2 months and landed a deal, and I think I popped like $200,000 or something like that. And I was like, this is...
All you need is one deal, man.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I'm on that one right now. I'm like, all we need is one deal, baby.
You're going to get there. Yeah, you're going to... You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Man.
But
I got a big spread right now, and I'm just like, all I need is one of these, baby. One of these, baby, and then we're on a whole different level.
Well, once that hits, and then I was hooked at that point. And then you're getting into that world of, these guys, these big deal plays, big deal play makers, the big brokerage houses like the CBREs and the Colliers and the Cushman Wakefields and the top brokers there and what you're doing. So, I started getting into that realm, left Kelly, went to a firm called Colliers, was very successful there, was actually, was up for some accolades. I was doing a lot of retail, so retail broker of the year out of all the different types of brokers and brokerage houses.
That's a whole different.
Yeah, dude, that was so you're
that's a different grind.
You're in a big ocean, and the sharks are big.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I really loved it until I did it. And then when I did it, it was like, okay, then because
what's next?
Yeah, and
I know that feeling. I did that in my entertainment career. I did it for 25 years, and I remember I'll never forget the day that I felt out of love with what I loved so much passionately as growing up as a child.
Yeah,
I don't want to say I regret, because I look now, just even recently, I look at some of the guys that are still in the game, and they're in the guys that are doing like EDC in Vegas. I mean, we're the same age. The guy's 1 year older than me, and we were hitting the streets at the same time. He stuck with it, and I just fell out of love.
Yeah,
I remember that day. It was in October of 2009. I'm like, I just looked, and I'm like, I became an enabler of debauchery. Literally, I mean, that's the only way I can describe it. I just said, this is not who I am. I need to get to the next level, and I've grown. And I'm growing into this next level of space that I'm in, which then leads to, as I'm growing, the balance, right? We go so hard on work and other things that we sometimes lose ourselves in our health and our bodies until something triggers that awakes you, or awareness. And I just remember that, there was a period of time where I was overweight. I was just so heavy, and then I had this moment of awakening. Try to get myself back into form. Then I had a good run, a successful run, 2014 to about 2019, 2020. Obviously, when we were locked down in COVID, and then recently, 22, 23 is when I had a good friend of mine that I known for many years comes into my universe. And he reads my books. At that time, I had already published 2 books. And he comes to me and he says, hey, Mauricio, I've known you for a long time. You're very successful. And he goes, but the outside doesn't reflect the inside.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shivers. Yeah.
kind of what's happened even with recent time with you now is when we met, got introduced by a good friend, Ireland. Got to give him a shout out.
Yeah.
got to
What's
give him
up,
credit.
Ireland? Yeah.
I love you, Ireland. Don't forget.
Yeah.
But yeah, that the moment that I met you and we started having conversation about all of this, the transformation began, and I started to feel growth.
Yeah.
On all different levels because we related from a business standpoint, from the peaks and valleys, from some of the turbulences that we've had in our lives. And we don't need to touch on them because, well, we do just between us and we've had those conversations. Those are the things that have gotten us to where we're at today.
Yeah.
And the fact that I'm doing things that I would have never thought of doing, like cold plunging, 40-degree water. 6 minutes and 30 seconds is my record time right now, which I plan to break. But also the transformation of my body and just by the coaching and the things that you've done with me. So, and we'll get into that. I think that, kind of segueing from where you were at in your life and your career, was the real estate, does it get to a point where it also burns you out?
Yeah, so this is perfect timing.
Yeah.
So here's the juxtaposition or the crossing of the road or the
I
forks.
felt it. That's why I kind of dived in. I was like, wait, I know we're going somewhere
here it goes. So I'm doing these deals, and it's like then you're dealing with things like political issues and there's nepotism and why didn't I get a deal? I'm more qualified. Well, it went to the cousin of the CFO, and it's like now you're dealing with this shit all the time.
No.
And I'm realizing that I'm selling my soul, dude. I'm selling my soul. And, working with these guys, and I just so I left Collier's. I started my own business, and that was the best move I ever made. And then I ended up, doing it for another 3-4 years, and 3 or 4 years, and then getting some great success and some momentum built up again. Then I started developing these projects. So I built like 3 or 4 buildings, and then I got these 2 office buildings off the ground. One was an 11-story high-rise in downtown Sunnyvale that I put together was where the post office was.
That's a high-rise in Sunnyvale, by the way, because it's a small town,
Yeah.
That looks like a high-rise, but no, I get you. I understand.
Mid-rise is 4 to 6 stories.
It's relevant to the area. So we're gonna call it a high-rise. They call them high-rises here in downtown San Jose. I'm like, it's 22 stories. I'm like, there's parking lots that are 22 stories.
Exactly. Anyways,
I'm fucking around.
Yeah,
anyway.
no, I got you. But so and then I had another one set, but this was right before COVID in 2019. So I landed those deals and flipped them and sold them, and it was perfect timing. The guys that were in it said, "Hey, you want to roll the money in?" And I was like, "No," and I was burned out again because like these projects had like a 3-year runway where I was working on them, and it started off really good, and again. As the thing gets closer to completion, people are stabbing you in the back. I'm getting attorneys involved. Just the normal politics and pettiness and nepotism where the family members of the guy that was my partner are coming in. Wow. And so I was buttoned up legally, so it was like, you want to try to do something? Let's go.
Yeah. This universe teaches you to be buttoned up.
Yeah. You get yourself buttoned up. But I was just like, again, I'm selling my soul for the douchiness. And so I walked out of him. Like one of the players did say, "Hey, you want to throw your money back in?" And, I was like, absolutely not. 3 months later, COVID hits. And I was just like, okay, I'm done. Sign from God. I'm dealing with addictions and alcoholism at this point. I think I've gone through my 3rd divorce as well at this point in time. So just all these trials and tribulations in life. And I was like, I'm going to go fix myself. And then I started having some health problems. So some liver, I had some kidney and heart problems. So I moved to Scottsdale for a while. And
different environment.
Yeah. Then San Diego, I moved to Del Mar. Yeah. And then I wanted to go buy a condo in Tulum, Mexico, in the Mexican Mayan Riviera. And that's where my real estate agent is my current fiance. That was the U.S.-Mexico liaison, foreign investor working for this development company building these
She's
big.
gangster, by the way.
She is so good. She is.
Gangster,
She is the best. This is Jean.
She's
Yeah.
Reina del Sur or some shit.
Yeah.
She played it off so gently here. I was like, nah. You're the one that carries the gun or the knife. I already know what's up. So.
I got stories, man. We first went to Mexico, and she picked me up, and we're driving down the airport in Mexico City, and I think I have my wallet on the dashboard, and they have the guys with the chiclets and the other things like the candies. And this, I had my window open. This guy walked by, and he started talking. She was like a tiger, man. She jumped and like she was like telling this guy, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
She's get your wallet down.
Yeah.
Like she knew.
Yeah,
like,
she knows what's up.
Yeah, because they'll steal your watch, take your watch off, get your wallet off the dashboard. I didn't know.
Yeah.
It's like those guys, they'll come and jack you.
They'll sniff you, man. They'll
Yeah,
be like,
yeah, exactly.
Here we go. We got to work. We got one.
But she was like, but then like she went like bam, bam, bam. Then next time she's like, oh, hi, and like with a smile. And it was like, woo, but she's straight up. Yeah. But anyway, so I moved to Tulum because these were those health problems were happening. Tulum's like the mecca of wellness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a mecca. So yoga and these wellness modalities that you're doing, like in the breathing and the yoga, or the breathing and the meditative practices, and they have all these yoga resorts and all of these things to heal and do this different stuff. So I went there because it's still COVID. Office is dead during COVID because no one's in office space. So why am I working? And I have my business that I'm still managing. Some retail shopping center properties and the like, which can be run independently. But I started learning about all this stuff and getting into this holistic naturopathic medicine and all of this stuff.
Start healing yourself too?
I started healing myself too. But
so you had liver problems?
Yeah, liver problems, kidney problems. I had some blood problems and some heart problems.
Jesus.
And it was
You're
all
a walking time bomb.
Yeah, it was from the addictions. Like my cholesterol was through the roof, blood pressure was through the roof, sclerosis, starting to get hardening of the arteries. I had a calcium score, which is calcium buildup in your arteries and valves around your heart. That was through the roof. I had like
bro, everything in moderation. Relax.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, all these inflammatory markers. It was bad. So anyway, I ended up going, and all these practices, these wellness practices that they were doing, were all things in one way or another that were taught when I was doing the elite level training in the Olympics. Okay, so one of the things that they're teaching you is I call inflammaging. Okay. One of the things that we teach as we get to my wellness business is an anti-inflammatory diet, an anti-inflammaging diet. It's blood sugar. When I'm in the Olympics, what they did is they would eat 5 very small meals, regular intervals. What you're going to do is you're going to be 60% protein, 50% protein, 30 to 40% carbs, and the rest fats. Watch your blood sugar levels. Yeah. This is what they teach all these athletes. They teach you that. So you're keeping blood sugar levels static. That inflammation is your blood sugar spikes, So all the things that they're teaching here now, 20 years later, I had learned all this stuff. These are the types.
Just weren't applying them.
I wasn't. How you breathe when you work out, bringing more oxygen in. They're hooking you up to oxygen compressors here. Yeah. Okay, you can do it naturally. You can breathe through your nose, and when your nose hairs vibrate, it's nitric oxide gets released, and you have more oxygen.
So I shouldn't shave my nose hairs?
No, don't do that. Yeah.
I'm like getting plucked out and shit. I'm like,
yeah. But it was crazy. So I'm seeing all these parallels with the things that I've done and with these elite trainers that I've worked out with. And really what they're working on is they're just working on 3 pathways. It's getting inflammation out of the body, and then it's getting metabolic health, metabolic dysfunction. So how your body takes glucose, converts it to fuel, and what are called your mitochondria, your engines, and healing those pathways. Yeah. And then your hormones, optimizing your hormones, testosterone for men, okay? You get all 3 of those pathways working. They're like arrows that are circling, going in a circle. Yeah. Everything in the body starts to work. If one breaks down, all of a sudden all 3 break down. So this is the stuff that they're teaching just in a different format, with like, a flute and a bamboo tree, and someone chanting, but
little too zen for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
But it's all the stuff that I learned from these elite level practices. So, so I started doing it, but applying the things that I did when I was in the Olympics, getting rid of that inflammation. Okay. Eating a low glycemic.
I've noticed a big difference, man.
Well, you're doing it.
I mean, I came to you. I was at actually, believe it or not, I was gaining weight, but it was really inflammation.
Getting veins.
Now my body's
getting
like,
vascular.
I'm looking at how much I've actually. You've added probably about 10 pounds, if not more, of muscle.
That's metabolism.
And I got worried. I was like, dude, I'm gaining weight. I'm gaining weight. Like, dude, look at yourself in the mirror. I'm like, I'm gaining. No, but the scale tells me this. You're like, no, look at the mirror. I mean, look at what you're doing. And then when you put me on the scales, on the
shape scale, the
shape scale, the end body,
the 3D.
I mean, you really break it down, the body fat versus the muscle and all the other stuff. And I'm like, oh, damn. So I've never felt this heavy in muscle. I've never had this, and now I'm enjoying it and then it's addicting too because I want to keep going through those cycles.
Yeah, well, your labs are going to show you too. So blood doesn't lie. Yeah. So the scale doesn't lie with what we're like with the body fat readings and whatnot and muscle density. Your blood's not going to lie either. Your blood's changing. I guarantee you. I bet your cholesterol. Bunch of inflammatory markers. They're going to be way down.
We're going to have to check those.
Oh, we will.
I know when I first did the test, everything is high.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, but I know now for a fact, even I'm very sensitive to different foods or to even the foods that I was eating before. I'm like, I can't eat as much anymore, even though I still, I'm very sensitive to smells, or I don't have the cravings. Like I could fuck down a pizza or I'll have my moments where like, McDonald's, right? You got to hit a low when you got to hit McDonald's. So, but none of that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
I know that you've also been teaching me, all the peptides.
Yeah.
Talk about the peptide stuff, man, because it's kind of people talk about it and people don't talk about it. I mean, what is the? I mean, is it something that they talk about openly, or is it kind of? I mean,
So peptides are they're organic molecules. They're amino acids connected by a peptide bond, and they're molecules that are produced in nature. There's nothing wrong with peptides, and there's all this mystique around peptides right now, and what you can buy and what you can't, because the FDA is put it in the news and they banned certain of the substances. Well, the FDA has banned a lot of the substances because it's their belief that you can buy them because they're organic compounds. Organic compounds can be bought as what are called research use only products. So you can go online, you can look up peptides, you can sign or click on a box on a website that says I'm over 21 and I consent that and I basically agreed that I'm not going to be using these peptides for human consumption, that they're for research use only, and that is the purpose or my intent of the purchase of this product. So because...
Man, you learned that verbatim, that
legal
language.
That's the language that you have to use. And that's, that's the gray area, and that's the loophole. And the FDA can't fight that. These are the laws. So what all these people, enterprising individuals, myself included, what you're going to do is you're going to put the peptides on these websites, and you're going to call them research use only. Now, because they're RUOs, and they're not intended for human consumption, they're not regulated, so you don't know if someone's building it in their bathtub or their kitchen sink, if they're getting the raws, the base materials from China, if they're getting it from the UK, where they're getting it from. So if you're buying pharmaceutical grade, there's all these different, accreditations that you need, like being a 503B facility. That means the FDA is regulating you and it's inspected by the FDA for the purpose of selling pharmacological agents. Okay, drugs. So research use only, you don't have that. Now, you are getting places that are doing these peptides that are 503B, but a doctor has to prescribe it, and that's becoming more mainstream. And so, the difference with where the Fed or the FDA has brought a lot of this notoriety up about peptides is that these websites that people are buying them from, the Fed's saying it's unregulated, and people are actually making these in their kitchen or their bathroom, and they're, God knows where, you know,
It's
people
kind of
are.
scary, man.
Yeah. So you have to be careful in that regard. But the peptide themselves, they're wonder drugs, So I started learning about peptides when I was in Mexico and did a lot of research on them, and actually got my certification. I've been to a bunch of seminars and done a bunch of studies. There's a group called the Seeds Institute. It's this Dr. Seeds is one of the guys that I do like and I follow and I think very highly of. So got my certification with him. But what he did is he showed all these different clinical studies with what these different peptides would do during these clinical studies for whatever ailment was occurring to that individual that the case study was about. But what we're seeing is that there's different peptides like BPC 157, which is something that you and I talk about, TB500, GHKCU. These are some common ones. They're called the Wolverine stack and the glow stack. You're going to heal, at incredible rates. You're going to have blood vessel proliferation or new blood vessel growth at high rates, which is going to increase muscle density, muscle mass, inflammatory markers in the body going down significantly, which, ease of movement, pain. That anti-inflammatory process also leads to the body working better. Remember, I was talking about inflammaging.
Yeah.
That anti-inflammatory diet, which allows our metabolism to work better. So you're seeing these peptides that can give us that helping hand that can enable all of our body's processes to start working better. So I started using these peptides and just had these miraculous results. My blood changed. I was able to get in shape. 55, I'm at 13% body fat right now with a pretty high level of physicality as far as what my muscle density and strength is, and able to go play basketball and going today. A lot of people can't do that.
Yeah.
I can do it because of the peptide therapy that I've been taking. But then what I did is I thought to myself, okay, the peptides are the biohack, and this is why I wanted to come back and start my company. Why don't I apply the dietary guidelines and then these holistic remedies that are these wellness modalities?
That's right.
Which are the cold plunge and red light and sauna and hyperbaric or oxygen therapy, or EWOT, which is exercise with oxygen therapy, where you're on a high intensity interval training bike, breathing a mask.
I did that shit today, and I was like,
Kicks your butt.
It kicked that. Today was the first time that I felt that I had to take off the mask. I've never had that.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was like, maybe. I have my theories, and I'm gonna put it to the test on Thursday. So
and so what we did is we said, well, let's take these wellness modalities and we'll stack them. So you do cold plunge and red light, and then hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and those three things together are like a cascade of all these good things happening in the body. They're synergistic effects. So that's 1 + 1 + 1 is equal to 5. But then if you take the biohack, so you stack the wellness modalities, and then you take the biohack of the peptides, you add that in to the mix. It's 1 + 1 + 1 is 10. So I started doing that to myself, and I call it stack and hack, or hack and stack, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But that's what the premise of our company is. So we're not doctors. We're taking what elite level athletes have been doing and what these holistic remedies have been going on for thousands of years. You look at some of these Eastern medicine practices and the meditation subscribe to, and then the clinical studies of red light, which is basically just mimicking going out and getting early morning sunlight, which they've been telling us that we have to do forever.
Yeah.
And then lowering blood sugar levels and getting rid of inflammation. I can use peptides to help with that process, but you stack and hack, we're just seeing these incredible results, which you, my friend, are taking part of.
No, I'm a walking testimony of it.
Yeah.
It's something that
you are.
It's for me. It's something that it's a part of my life now. Just like my my eating well, my working out. It's an everyday thing. It's gotten to the point now where, one day I miss of not going into the system, I call it. I feel like I'm out of sync. So it's just interesting. I love going into that cold plunge. It's there's something that just triggers in my mind, even if it's for a minute or 30 seconds or do the full time. Just getting that into it, just
It's that adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
And so like you're seeing these changes, well, the changes that I've done to myself, that blood work and those kidney problems and those heart problems that I was having, well, I started doing this about 2-3 years ago. Those are now gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what do doctors say when you tell them that? Or
They think it's, like you get some that they love it. So more and more are actually loving it now. But you got to remember, doctors are taught to see what an ailment is, and I get to write a prescription for it and then get out the door. Let's make the drug companies money. And I got to be careful with what I say, guys. But that's the way
I don't need them coming and knocking at my door.
Yeah, that's our medical system. There's a lot of people that say that. And that's what doctors are taught. Look, it worked for a while, but it doesn't. We pay 70% of the profits of the pharmacology companies of the world. So the U.S., 6% of the population of the world, pays 70% of the profits of all the world's drug companies. So if you're paying 70% of the profits, that means we're getting all the best drugs. We should be maybe top 10 as far as life expectancy and quality of life. We're 70. Why is Japan and Norway and Sweden, why are these countries? Norway and Sweden do hot plunge, hot sauna and cold plunge back and forth. Japan's known for cold plunges. Okay, meditative practices, breathing exercises, all these things that we're now teaching. These are what are teaching people.
I don't see obesity being in those areas, in those countries.
You don't. Anti-inflammatory diet, baby. You know. So this is what. So the drugs aren't doing it anymore, and I think people. That's where this movement is. It's these wellness modalities, and then using the peptides, which are organic. Hack and stack, baby. Yeah.
Hey, I'm like I said, I'm a walking testimony. I love it. I'm not changing. I just know that we got to go through the process. I've been patient, and I'm seeing it. And now that I get to work on, like I haven't seen abs on my body like in a long time, probably since I was a kid.
But you've never seen abs on your body.
And I've seen them when I was a kid. I got pictures. They weren't as foreign, but now I'm looking at what's happening with my arms, my body, my chest, my back, my legs. I got nicknamed the El Toro.
The bull.
The bull inside your at your place. I'm always looking forward to it. And I think I think people need to get educated on it, because there's a lot of people, when you start talking about it, they're like, oh, that's not real. You need to do it and experience it instead of just kind of talking without having the facts. And I think that's where, the education comes in. Aside from doing that, I mean, I'm also doing like my super patches. I'm all super patched up right now.
I love those. I've actually used it. I got to call Gary. I'm telling him. The sleep one, that REM.
Today I got Lumi, which is for glow. I got Freedom.
You're glowing.
I got Boost. I'm all patched up in my body. I'm like, because there's one for every alleged symptom, right? But that just, to me, it just adds on top of all the other things that I'm doing. I'm doing all my supplements. I'm doing the pure
encapsulations. We've got you on those to help your metabolism.
Great vitamins. I'm doing the whole stack of Alpha Biomeds. Those guys are doing an amazing
studs.
They're studs out there, man. They're doing a great job. And every once in a while, I'm tapping back into the Onnit, the Brain Power one, just because. I don't know, just kind of like playing yo-yo, right? We always gotta keep tricking our body, right? Always, because
never let our body get comfortable,
because it adapts.
It adapts. Yo-yo,
So if people want to come out, you're in Santa Clara. That's the first of one of many. Here in Santa Clara. I know there's a website. There's the BMS Wellness CA.com. They can come. I know that you guys have our on Instagram, which is the Wellness BMS Wellness CA as well.
And then we're right next to Santa Clara University. Cross Voyager Coffee is a good landmark.
Right next to Ike's Sandwich. By the way. That sounds really good right now.
It actually does.
Try to find the most healthiest one there. Anything else, I mean, that you can share with us on this biohacking kind of trend that's happening? People want to come up, they set up an appointment. And
they can call. We, it's like I said, BMS stands for Body, Mind, Spirit. So that's what we're teaching or preaching is we say, look, we start to fix the body, then your mind starts to follow, or you can say it vice versa. You know, you work on the mind and the body will follow. I personally think that you start doing things like cold plunge. People say, okay, that's the body. And your body starts feeling better and you get rid of inflammation. But what you don't realize is you don't want to go in a cold plunge. So then you start doing it more and more. That's your mind becoming stronger. That's the body mind of BMS. And then your mind becomes stronger. Then you're able to be present more. You're being able to reflect and understand and see a lot of the things that are happening to your body and what's happening with your mind, and then your spirit gets stronger, body, mind, spirit. So that's really what we hope to accomplish. We want to fix everything.
Yeah.
So BMS,
that's the goal, man.
Yeah,
That's the goal,
yeah. BMS Wellness CA, they can come. They can go on the website, $99 trial offer, or call us.
It's way worth more than that, man.
Well, no, that's a one-day trial offer or something like that. Yeah, they could come on and do something there, but however they want to set it up, we'll do a consult. Yeah.
I know I did tell you that there is no price to health.
Yeah. Virgil, the greatest wealth is health.
Yeah. There's I mean, I remember recently, I mean, where my medical insurance is $2,000 for me, single man, not just for me, a single plan, $2,000, $1,900 and change. Crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't, and to think that I don't go there on a regular basis, and here, you know, the investment is less, but I'm going there every day and I'm active about my health and I'm aware, I'm conscious of where things are going. So anyway, man, well, thank you again for taking the time. You know, I definitely hope people got something out of this and that they learned that, you know, one, perseverance, resilience, you know, there's definitely a lot of resilience here, and then taking risks. I think that, you know, we can't get comfortable in the spaces that we're in. We got to keep pushing ourselves. And that's kind of what I've done now is, you know, and I know for a fact this morning, I was like, I'm not getting up. I'm like, and I pushed and I pushed. And the minute I got out onto the car and I got on my way, I was like,
then you're in a cold plunge.
Yeah. And
Go
then
figure.
I'll be there tonight.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you again.
man.
Thank you. I appreciate everything. And I look forward to having you on this journey with me.
You're dear to me,
and,
man.
and not only that, but scaling the business, because BMS is going to be not only one, but the idea is to have hundreds of these across the U.S.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You heard it here first.
Like, comment, subscribe. Mauricio Mejia live on YouTube.